Hey everybody, this is Nick with Frost CNC, and today we're going to tackle a range hood in Mozaik software from scratch. And we're going to do one that has a concave front to it. It's going to be fully parametric. We're going to put a cutout in the back. We're going to miter all of these pieces together. And the coolest part is you can see here it says curve front panel to cut. Well, let's turn that on and take a look at it. And there it is. And so we're actually going to show how to make a pre-mitered, pre-kerfed panel straight off your machine to fit this curve. And you'll be able to assemble this right off your CNC. Let's do it. All right, we're going to continue on building on our hood. This is part 2 of the video. If you haven't watched part 1, go watch that first. And make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. All right, so we built this structure in part 1, and so we're going to take it the rest of the way. We're going to add some miters to certain edges of our parts, and we're going to add a back cutout, and then I'm going to show you how to actually kerf a real panel so that you can assemble this hood right off your CNC. So let's do the back cutout first. So to do that, I would like some control over that cutout. And so what I'm going to do here is call something back cutout width. And what that's going to be is really the border around the outside, how much material gets left when I cut out the middle. And so we'll call this back cutout border width. We'll go ahead and do 4 inches there. Now, whenever we use the toolpath, a closed toolpath that we can add at a part, is in order to get a true 4 inches, we actually need to do a tool offset. We actually need to build in our own offset. And so I'm going to go ahead and type in tool D as a parameter here and call this cutout tool diameter. And I'm going to use a 3/8 compression for that. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we're going to use these two now to make the cutout in the back. So let's go ahead and go to parts. I'm going to go ahead and find the back, and press edit, and edit operations. And so you can see there's my back. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a tool path. And this is going to be a closed tool path. And we're going to essentially use the parameters we just made to define this cutout. So before we do the XY, we'll do the depth, and I want this to cut all the way through. Now this is a U back, so we'll do U back thickness there. We'll go ahead and select our tool, and we want this to be our 3/8 compression. Now for the X position on this, we're going to go ahead and use our parameter, BCW, back cutout width, which is 4 inches currently. But we also need to add in our tool offset, because really the tool path needs to be in the center of the tool. And so we need to add half of the tool's diameter to our coordinate. So there we go. So we should see 4 3/16, and there we are. Go ahead and press OK. In the Y direction, it's actually the same, so I just copied and pasted it. And there's our first point. Our second point in the X direction is actually going to be the part L, full length of the part, minus what I had copied. So I'll go ahead and do that. And the Y coordinate is what I've copied. There we go. Now point 3 is going to be part L minus, there we go. And Y is going to be part W minus everything I've copied there. So really we've used this same expression at every point. There we go. And then point 4, this one is what we've copied. And this one will be part W minus what we've copied. There we go. All right, so we just made a parametric cutout. And it's actually going to give you a true 4 inches when we're done because we built in the offset of the tool. Go ahead and press OK. We'll press OK here. Now you don't see it here. You can see it on the inside. In order to actually see your cutout, we do have to turn on high detail. And there it is. Now we can change that to whatever we want. So we have full control over that cutout now. And we could make multiple parameters and shape this cutout however you want to. We'll stop right there for the sake of this video. But there's your cutout. All right. The next thing I want to do is I want to miter this edge on our end and this edge as well. I want to miter the ends on our apron, and I want to miter these ends right here. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to go to the Parts tab. I'm going to find the finished end left. I'm going to go ahead and press Edit. And I'm going to edit operations. And I'm going to go ahead and add a toolpath, but this one is going to be an open toolpath. And you can see there it is, but really I just need 3 points, not the 4 that it comes in with. We just need 1, 2, 3 to follow those 2 edges. So we're going to go ahead and delete that one. On toolpath point 1, I need that to be right here. And so our X coordinate here is 0. And our Y coordinate here would be part width, full width of the part. You can see it'll bring it up here. And while we're on point 1, we're going to go ahead and set the depth. Since this is a finished end, we're going to go ahead and write finished end thickness. Okay. And we're going to select our miter tool, our 90-degree sharp corner miter tool. This is the same tool used in the miter fold library, and so that's what we're going to use here. There it is. Now on point 2, our X position should be our apron height, FAH, and the Y position should be part W. There we go. And on the third point, we need this to be the full length of the part, part L. We'll bring it all the way to the right. There we go. And here, this will be the depth at top parameter. And there we go, right on that point. Then we can click on this line and we can add our bulge. Go ahead and go HB. There we go. So now we essentially have a miter toolpath that will follow the shape of our end. And so we can miter this to essentially the apron in our curved part. Go ahead and press OK there. We've got that one done. Now we'll do the front apron. There it is. We're going to go ahead and go to Edit. I'm going to edit operations and add those miter toolpaths. So I'm going to go ahead and add a toolpath. It's open. And I'm going to go ahead and delete point 4, and I'm going to go ahead and delete point 3. Okay. So for point 1 here, we want this to be at 0 and 0 down in the bottom left corner. While we're here on point 1, I'm going to go ahead and put the depth to be finished end thickness. Again, I'm going to select my miter tool. There it is. Go to point 2. We want this to be all the way to the right on the part, or part L, and our X coordinate to be 0. And there we go. We mitered this edge of the front apron. I'm going to go ahead and copy that toolpath. There it is. And we're simply going to move the Y coordinates from our copy. And this, instead of 0, will be part W, which will move it all the way to the other side of the part. And we'll do the same with point 2. All right, so we've mitered both sides. Now, we can do the right end for the sake of keeping this video as short as possible. You can do the right end simply the same way you did the left end. And that way you would have a miter line right here on these 2 edges of your right end. So the last piece is, how do we actually add the panel the machine's actually going to cut with miters and kerfing to actually fit this concave shape. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a part. I'm going to go ahead and call this concave front panel, and we'll call this actual. And this is actually going to get cut out of the finished end material. I want this to be out of MDF. There we go. Okay, now in terms of the shape, the width of this right here, the width of the hood, I actually want to be the length. You could do it either way. But we're going to go ahead and type in W there in length, and it'll pull the 36 dimension. So that's good. Now, in terms of the width, this is a little trickier because what we need is we actually need the arc length right here along this concave surface, because ultimately I want my part to be long enough that when it fits this curve, it's a perfect fit here right to the top corner and right to this corner here. Now, to save us a bunch of time, I'm going to actually use a formula I've put together in advance. You can see how intense this one is to figure out the arc length from our parameters. This formula right here is down in the description of this video. So if you're following along, go ahead and get this formula from the description in the YouTube video here. I'm just going to copy this, get rid of that. And that's ultimately what's going to go in the width section here. We can test that. And there we go. And press OK. And so there's the panel right there. Now, you're going to want to uncheck graphic part when you use this hood for real. So ultimately, you can see the visual, but this part will actually get cut on the machine. So we'll keep graphic on so we can see it. But that part right there will be long enough to fit this arc right here perfectly. All right, so let's miter this part. We're going to go ahead and go to Edit Operations. I'm going to add a toolpath. It's going to be open. And really, I just need to follow this edge, which is the edge that's going to follow the concave surface, this edge, which meets the front apron, and this alternative, or this opposite right edge here. So with point number 1, we're going to bring that all the way over to 0 in the X, and all the way up to the top with part W. Okay, while we're on point 1, I want this depth to be the full thickness of my finished end. And my tool is going to be the 90-degree sharp corner tool. There we go. Point number 2 is going to be down at 0, 0. All right. Point number 3 is going to be part L all the way to the right of the part. And Y will be 0 down at the bottom. There we go. And our 4th point is going to be all the way over and all the way up. All right, so now essentially we're going to miter 3 edges of this panel, and that's what's going to allow us to essentially kind of fold it in and assemble this hood. Now, the last piece is kerfing, and how do you do kerfing in Mozaik? So the way to do that, I'm actually going to close this here, is I want to make some parameters to control my kerfing. And so one of them is going to be KD, or the kerf depth. And we'll start with, I don't know, 5/8, leave an eighth of material. And then we're also going to do kerf spacing. KS. And this will be on center. We'll just say 3/4. This is something you're going to have to play with to get curve spacing and depth that you like to get a nice smooth curve, but that's something you'll have to test out. So let's go back now to our parts tab, and we're going to go back to the actual panel. I'm going to press edit. We're going to go to edit operations here, and you can see my miter lines. What we're going to do here is we're going to add a tool path. It's going to be open. I really only need 2 points, so we're going to delete the 4th point, and we're going to delete the 3rd point. And what I need here is in the X direction, 0 all the way to the left. And our Y position is going to be KS, our kerf spacing. So you can see how we're going to be able to control these tool paths with our parameters, or at least their positioning. So there's KS. Now while I'm on point 1, I'm going to set the depth. And this goes back to KD, our kerf depth parameter. There it is, 5/8. And I want to do this kerfing with an 1/8 inch down shear. We'll go ahead and press OK. All right. Here's toolpath point 2. We're going to go all the way to the right, part L. And this will be kerf spacing KS. There we go. So there's our first kerf line. Now, this next process, there's no way to speed up. Unfortunately, it's going to take you 5 to 10 minutes to do this, but we're going to have to copy this toolpath, press OK, press OK. And on this new toolpath, all we're going to do in the Y position is we're going to start going up by 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 and create each one of these lines. So there we go. Times 2. All right, there's kerf line number 2. We'll go to copy. And you can see how you're just going to have to kind of rifle through these. So the next one would be spacing 3. So on and so forth. So I will stop there. You will essentially need to fill your part with kerf lines. And if your hood changes, you may have to add some kerf lines, hide some kerf lines. We could make some formulas that they hide themselves, but that's beyond the scope of this video right here. So if I press OK and OK, I'm going to turn on high detail. And there it is. You can see my kerf lines there. I'm going to go ahead and move this down. There you go. You can see it now. We'll turn high detail on. There we go. So there's the start of my mitered kerf panel. That should perfectly fit. All right, give it a try. Make sure you do a test first before you cut this for real. But that should give you a perfectly assembled concave front hood straight off your CNC. We'll see you at the next video.